Hey, welcome back to Joe and Jay Outspoken.
I froze there for a minute.
Like, what the heck is going on here?
What is this?
So today's episode is on perception and the threat to reality based around that.
Yeah, so we've all heard that little saying, perception is reality.
Yeah,
But in reality, it is not, right?
that's correct.
Perception,
Reality is its own thing.
Yeah, reality is something that real, that
It's
not based on
right.
our mental impression on what that is, or what it's stuff that's influenced by our feelings or things like that. That's a perception.
Yeah.
Right. It's a reality is very different than a perception. And most times in society, we hear that a lot. It's like, oh, well, perception is their reality. Well, might be theirs. It's
Right,
not mine.
right. Well, so before we get started, I'd say the thing that every adult, right, that has children could identify with this is little Johnny or little Susie runs in. There's a monster under my bed.
Yeah.
That is their perception, and that is not reality. So, hey guys, before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, check the bell notification icon, share this video. It really helps out the algorithm and all that kind of stuff and helps us out a ton so we can bring more videos just like this and other ones that you don't like even more right to your YouTube or
They're
whatever.
all great.
Screen
They're all great. All right. Like, we have a great interaction going on here. And,
We do.
as always, your guys' opinions don't matter. So please make sure that you keep writing us so that way we keep looking at it and saying, toss it. Delete it. No, I'm just kidding. We do read all your guys' comments and we love them, and
We do.
And we
do have a
in
very
fact,
large round file, though.
Yeah, but some of them are very hateful. Just
Mainly on Joe.
It's true. It's true. I talk a lot of stuff, but anyway, your opinions do matter to us, just not when we're talking about it. So,
Right.
And a lot of these shows are based on some of the things that you guys suggest. So keep sending those lovely emails. Remember to Joe, just put Joe on there, and I accept all kinds of forms of payment.
Yep.
All forms of payment.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Get on Foot Finder. He's easy to find. So, all right, let's get going. All right, welcome back. So here we go with perception and the threat to reality based around that. So, we started off this, I gave like a little bit of an example. So if you are an adult with kids, or even if you don't have kids, you kind of understand this analogy. A little kid runs into the room and says, "Hey, there's a monster under my bed." Now, what do you think about that? Do you think, oh my gosh, that kid must be right. They're onto something. There might be monsters under their bed. No, as a grown adult with cognitive thinking, you say, yeah, little Johnny, little Susie, you're making that up. It's in your mind. You're dreaming about it. And we kind of comfort them and we move on with life, right?
Correct.
So why is it that we have adults, Joe, nowadays that truly believe about the monsters under their bed?
Well, it's a funny thing you ask. But I don't know if you've ever seen this drawing, and it has like three little wooden sticks, right, or logs, or whatever you want to call them. And if you're looking at them overhead, they look like there's three. But if you're looking at the end, they look like there's four, right? If you count the bottom, it looks like four. And there's this thing that says, we don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. If you guys understand that. And that's kind of what perception is. We don't see things for what they really are, but we see them how we feel
Right.
they are, right? And what's played into that? There's a lot of things that are played into that. I'm sure you guys have perceived an itch. You might scratch even if there's nothing there to cause it. Right.
If you watch a movie with a bunch of ants or bugs or whatever, you start getting
yeah. So perception is really the mental impression that can be influenced by our emotions, past experiences, and beliefs. In reality, the world as it exists, independent of human opinion. So those are the differences. This is based on the opinion of Google, and those are the two things that
fully believable.
If it's in Google, it's true.
That's got to be true.
But in reality, reality is reality, right?
Right.
It's there. Nothing changes. This is a mic. Right. This is a mic cable. This is the reality of things. Now, whether you see like, that looks like a banana, that's your perception of what that microphone is. In reality,
I identify as a,
well, So most recently, there's been this anglerfish or the black devilfish that popped up, right? And
The black devilfish.
and it's this video of this black devilfish that those are ocean bottom dwellers, right? They're in the
Right.
bottom. And so there's this video that they captioned this dark black anglerfish, and those anglerfish have this little thing that sticks out.
Right.
It has a little light, luminescent light, and that attracts fish, and that's how they eat, right?
They nab them.
Yeah. So you could see this.
They have teeth.
They have teethuses, like
Nasty teeth.
yeah. It's got like an underbite. Like, so this thing is fish is swimming up to the surface, right? And here's the funny thing: I see all these things on social media, like people are like dying, and it wants to see the light.
One last time,
a true light, not its own luminescent light, but the light of the world, of shining, and blah blah blah. You see all these comments, and then you got this guy that's from Scientific America saying that guy's got a disease or a virus and it's dying and it's going to the surface and that's where it dies, right? It like total two different views of this fish that's swimming to the surface that dies, right? Or this devilfish. But that's the reality of things. The reality is that you're seeing a devilfish swim to the surface. It gets up there, it's floating a little bit, and then she dies. Yeah. Right? I don't want to tell you. The perception to me would be like it's finding God on its final journey. I can make it a very beautiful thing, right?
It's going to Caroline.
Yeah.
Going to the light.
It's going to the light. The atheist side of people, they're like, it's sick, it's dying, or maybe it got lost, and it's going straight up, and it's based on our beliefs, based on our feelings, based on our cognitive thinking. That's what we're going to project onto that image,
right?
Onto that reality of.
That's our demon under the bed theory.
Correct, right? It could be that old. Remember those little sock monkeys? It could be an old little sock monkey in there, right? And
you said sock monkey.
You know the sock monkey, and right with the button eyes and things like that.
Yeah.
And it could, and a kid, and all you see is a dark area under the bed, because what do most people do? They put the beds in the corner of a wall, right? So the kid doesn't roll off, and then there's a little gate, and so it's dark on one side. So what happens? They see a little sock monkey over there. They're like, "There's a monster." It's a sock monkey, right? But again, to a child, that's their reality. That's their world. That's based on what? On the storytellings we tell them. On what do we tell kids? Mexicans be like, "Hey, don't be touched that, or the mano peluda is going to come get you and grab your feet." We just tell. We're horrible parents as Mexicans. We tell them the scariest thing.
The underbed monster is going to get you.
Right. The hairy hand's going to come and scratch your feet and drag your feet, and don't fight with your brother. That's what we call it. I was so scared of that thing. And my mom would have to come check my bed every time.
See, anyway, white people are always told you get a hairy hand from something else. So.
Mexicans, we're a different level, bro. We're just a different level. But again, that's the reality of things. Like, to most people in society, you're walking across the street and you see somebody, pink hair, clearly a man, right? He looks from the back.
Gosh, here we go.
From the back, you're like, "What's up, girl? You're like a prison 8, man. You looking good."
Prison 8.
Right? Turns around, you got a full beard, hairy chest. You're like, all right, I'm going to hell. But, again, based on my mentality, I'm looking from the rear, like, that's a chick.
Yeah.
Turns around. The reality of things is that's a guy dressed as a woman. How do people who have a religious base see that? They see it as wrong. They see it as immoral.
Right.
They see it. And how do the people who live a more libertarian life, they see that like their freedom of expression? They're free to express themselves. They were trapped. It was a woman trapped in a man's body. And I'm thinking, man, what a waste. But that is the reality. But the perception is that's normal, right? In today's society, that's normal, And so clearly, that's not the reality, though, right? To some people, that's not normal. Some people it is, but that's their perception of things based on their belief and things like that. And I think that it's a very fine line, Jay. I think it's a very fine line between perception and reality. People really, truly believe that perception is reality, and it's not, and we have to get away from that. We have to look at things as what they are. Like, this is a glass of water. And that's all it is, right? People are going to call this is a very hurtful glass of water because this says Trump on it, right? It hurt my feelings, and it's caused me so much chaos in my life. I have family members I don't speak to anymore because
I can't go have Christmas, and I don't believe in Christmas anymore anyway. So yeah. So I used to tell this story to large sales groups, and at the time, I had a BMW.
Mhm.
So I made kind of a joke about it because I'd say, I want you guys to all close your eyes, and you guys can follow at home with this whole thing. Close your eyes and imagine that you're driving on the freeway. And let's say you're in the fast lane or second to fast lane, and you're far enough over there because you're going down the road pretty quick, obeying the speed limit, of course.
Unless you live here.
Yeah, you're going down the road and you look in your rearview mirror, and some jerk in this silver BMW, because that's the color and that was the car that I had, is coming up on you, and they are just swerving in and out of traffic, coming up fast on you. And you're looking back, and what are you thinking? Man, it's one of these jerks, right? One of these douche canoes coming up behind me really fast. And as you're watching, you're watching traffic in front of you, side of you, and you keep looking back, and they keep getting closer. And then all of a sudden you see them on the side, and they basically cut you off. So how do you feel right now? How do you feel, Joe? Are you pissed?
Oh man, I am pissed, bro.
This guy just cut me off, and I'm assuming it's a guy. I'm assuming it's a douche canoe, right, in a BMW. So what am I going to do? I'm going to chase him down. And so
I shouldn't, but I am.
I'm going to punch it, and I'm going to chase him down. And this person's still swerving in and out, not paying any attention that I'm coming up fast on them. Man, if there was like a state trooper, highway patrol coming up behind them.
Never when you need them.
They're not, they're never around when you need them. They're not paying attention to that. So I'm running up and I'm right on their tail. And they get over into the second to the fast lane, and I roll up on them as fast as I can to get right next to him, to give him a piece of my mind, to roll my window down and flip him the bird or whatever I'm going to do. And I notice it's a lady, and all of her mascara is running, and I see in the passenger seat a young child slumped over in the seat there. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder if this is a mom rushing her kid to the emergency room. And so what this is called, if you just changed right now based on the story, first off, you were upset and mad, and now you're sympathetic to what's going on. This is what's called a paradigm shift. Exactly how Joe was describing it. You had a perception that was not part of reality. Now, not to say that we're giving somebody an excuse for cutting people off or any of that kind of stuff. However, we now have changed our reality of perception. Our perception is now based in reality of what we know is going on. That lady is upset because she's taking her child wherever, to the hospital or something like that, because the child is obviously in distress. And before that, we had no concept of that. So our perception was this was some douchey dude just racing around in his car doing stupid stuff.
I'm still going to flip her the bird.
And that is your right in reality to do that, right?
Yeah.
But
that is my reality.
That is what happens in life. A lot of times we get upset at a situation. I mean, how many times have you been at a restaurant or the grocery store or something like that, and you have this person that is just like going off on the cashier or the waitress or waiter or what have you, and their perception is that they are not getting the proper service and all these other kind of things. And that's not the reality of it. It's just their perception of it. Everybody in the place is getting the exact same service, but they feel entitled and special and everything else. Yeah, the Karens of the world. So, and I'm not saying that we haven't all experienced bad service and those kind of things. We have to understand that we are not special in the world. One of the things from being in the sales industry,
we perceive to be.
Yeah. One of the things in the sales industry that is pushed more than anything is every one of your customers is to be treated like they are the only customer you ever have. And that plays on people's psyche, right? And if you're that person that is so susceptible to that kind of psyche, then you're susceptible to other easily swayed perceptions of altered realities, right? This is the problem with the way that everything's going right now, is that the media skews perceptions in reality that's out there and changes all kinds of stuff. So right now, one of the things, Trump's been in office, a few weeks now?
Yeah. Or a month now, isn't it?
Month now, yeah. Not a month, I guess. God, time flies. He has been...
Dad. Oh, sorry.
He's been in office a month now, and a couple of things that he's done that me personally, I don't really care one way or the other, but it has made a big stink in the media, is that he changed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And he has changed Denali Mountain or Peak or whatever you want to say in Denali National Park. He's changed it back to Mount McKinley. Both of these things have caused a big stink with people. And the thing is we're going over the whole deal with perception. So people's perception is this guy is a dictator and everything else, that he's changing these things for his whim. Well, just so people are clear, Mount McKinley was Mount McKinley until 2015.
Obama.
And in 2015, Mr. Obama, he changed it to Denali. And so now it's being changed back because it was...
Let me ask you this. Did they make a fuss then?
No, nobody
No,
made a
I
fuss at
didn't
all.
think so.
The thing is if you're going to change the name, it made sense because that's Denali National Park, right? But there's a bunch of peaks that are a bunch of different names. So it kind of doesn't make sense that that one peak is named Denali when the whole park's named Denali. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. And you took away the name from a man that was being honored, have the mountain named after him.
25th
in
president,
the first
right?
place. Yeah, in the first place. So it didn't really make any sense. The Gulf of America, people are making a big stink about that too. And the perception is that, again, that Trump is being a dictator and doing all this kind of stuff.
Is it because, oh, they're taking the word Mexico because he hates Mexicans and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But the reality of things is not that.
No, not at all. So one of the things is that for all the people that have this altered base of reality, think that all the proper pronouns and everything that need to be used. So why don't we call that Gulf the proper pronoun? So
I like how you did that.
Tell me, Joe, Canada, United States, Mexico, all of the Central America, there's the clue, and South American.
The continent of America.
America. So this
North
is the
America,
Gulf.
Central America, South America.
Absolutely.
All America.
So if he would have said, hey, let's make this the Gulf of USA, the United States of America, that might have been a different thing. But he said the Gulf of America.
So the Gulf of
Right.
America really is fitting because it's shared with Mexico and it's shared with
Central America,
with-
North America.
Yeah,
everything.
so it's the Gulf of America. You could almost say
Absolutely.
the Gulf of the American of the
Of the
Americas.
Americas.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
it's fitting. But again, the perception is he's racist, he hates Mexicans. The reality is that it's more fitting of a name, and it's only been changed 6-7 different times before, so it doesn't really matter.
That's right. In the 16th century, it was called the Gulf of Florida. For those of you that want to do some history stuff, it was also called the Gulf of Cortez, and that was named by some of the Spanish explorers.
We're not going to go with that one, guys, because you know what? He occupied us.
Yeah, it was called the Gulf of New Spain. And why was it called the Gulf of New Spain? Well, that was after
The conquistadors.
conquistadors got rid of all the Aztecs, like murdered and slaughtered the Aztecs.
They all moved north, bro. They all became Navajo and
Yeah.
Apache. Those are the Aztec
And
warriors.
The Aztecs, as much as we may say they were weird for, sacrifices and stuff they did, they were an amazing people for all the stuff they did.
Astronomers,
That's right.
scientists, they had
The Aztecs
everything.
were the
surgeons because they take the heart out while they were still going. I mean,
the Aztecs were the Egyptians of the Americas.
Well,
they really were.
You know, it's funny though. I've always considered it funny, weird, but it's like Aztecs existed when what was that university, old university in England?
Oh, my alma mater.
They all coexisted at the same time. Like the Aztec Empire was still around when this university was going.
Oxford.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's pretty crazy. So anyway, just a little weirdness there.
So a couple of the other ones, it was also called the Gulf of St. Michael, the Gulf of Yucatan.
Because the Yucatan Peninsula.
Sea, the Yucatan Peninsula, the
That's down
Yucatan Sea, Antillean Gulf, and the Cathayan Sea. And of course, finally, the Gulf of Mexico.
No, finally, the Gulf of America.
And finally, the Gulf of America. Yeah.
So let me ask you this thing. I'm going to walk you down a perception, okay? So people at home can understand. A mile. Let's say you're not going to walk a mile. Boom, boom. Not a big deal, right? A mile's not far, right? We could walk a mile.
4 times around an average football field.
Right. Easy walk, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. A mile's still the same. You worked all day. You're tired, exhausted. You've been on your feet all day. Does that mile to you still the same distance, or do you perceive that to be even a longer than normal?
It's probably a little longer than normal.
Okay. So then let's take that away. Let's say you're 200 pounds heavier.
Oof.
Is that mile still look the same to you?
No.
That mile's going to seem like,
how about those stairs?
That mile's going to look unobtainable to you, right? Because again, our physical bodies, right, and ability to move are influence the perceptions of our surroundings, right?
Absolutely.
How we see things. So to you and I, normally a mile's like, oh yeah, walk a mile for that cheeseburger. We're on the way. You know what I mean?
Stop it.
But you add 200 pounds to either one of us, or the fact that we're tired or exhausted.
Cheeseburger and ain't stopping us.
All right, that's a bad example. Horrible example.
Steak and taters, man. We're walking wherever you want.
But do you see how that could impact someone's perception of distance, right? That's too far. So there's a saying that I found. It says, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change, right? That's a big statement. It's a bold statement, right? So what they're telling you, basically,
Socrates over here.
But it's Juan Socrates.
Joe Socrates, so it'd be Jocrates. Okay, we got it.
Yeah. But so, I mean, what they're saying is if you change how you view something, your view of that changes. I know it's simple, very simplistic. But that's the reality of things. I hear so much about the fact that perception is reality. We tend to believe that so much. Perception has become people's true reality. And that's
right.
And people cannot do that. Doge, for example. Let's take Doge, right? You know what Doge is,
The
right?
Department of Government Efficiency.
Correct. When Trump ran and during his campaign, he kept talking about running an efficient government. And he's about bringing Elon Musk in and doing everything, dude, to go through these, and he's going to cut waste because he's done it for his own company. So now he's doing it. What is some of the negative stuff you hear? Oh, they're taking our information. He's access to personal information and blah, blah, blah.
That's not what it.
No, the guys they're looking at waste.
Right.
And of course, you as an individual are not waste unless you're part of a department that is wasteful, right? So I don't need to look at your personal information. What I need to know is like how long you've been working here, where do you work, and what is your job title? That's it. That's really all I need to know. What they're looking at is where are these contracts? What are they for? What are the NGOs involved? What government agencies are involved? Things like that. That's the reality of it. But the perception is, oh, they're cutting funding to vaccines that they need. And you know what? We love to give. America loves to help. And so, no, they're not cutting those programs. They're cutting the stupid programs where, we're creating these DEI programs in other countries that clearly didn't even help us. And they're trying to put it somewhere else.
Right.
Everything's political. Now, you got these other agencies that somewhat help. We're giving millions of dollars to them. A fraction of it's going to help people to bring clean water. And the rest is the chairperson, the CEOs are getting millions of dollars to sit on there. And what are they? They're ex-parliament people from Europe that are heads of these agencies that are getting all these money.
Yeah.
So it's money laundering.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And so the perception is Elon Musk is looking to our personal stuff. He's gaining money out of this. They got this new contract, which is a Biden administration contract. I don't know if you ever heard of that. $400 million for armored Teslas.
Yeah.
That chick from CNN or MSNBC was like, we got him. This is dirty. This is illegal. You're like, Biden gave him that contract. It wasn't Trump.
Here's just a little side note on that is all the stuff. Listen, guys, I've never been a huge fan of Tesla or any of that other kind of stuff.
I don't like electronic vehicle.
No, but what I would say to stand up for that is contracts that Tesla, forget Elon Musk for a second, that company, Tesla, has been given compared to like NASA and some of the other companies that are doing the similar things. Tesla is doing it better and more efficiently for less money than the other companies are. So that's why the government's been going with them, including, so you think about it, Biden, his administration for the last 4 years, they were not fans of Elon, but the reason they went with Tesla,
they're probably the cheapest,
because they were the best and the cheapest.
But let's the reality of things is Elon Musk
is reality.
Elon Musk is a genius. The guy's smart.
He's super smart.
But so the
is
point
he weird? Absolutely.
I'm weird.
But you know what? Nikolai Tesla was weird. Albert Einstein was weird. Steve Jobs was weird.
These guys that are highly intelligent are weird.
They're weird.
They isolate themselves. They're just weird. So anyway,
I'm completely normal.
Guy, like
just saying.
Like Elon Musk, he sleeps in offices. He doesn't even go home. He stays up 24 hours. The guy's on the spectrum. My point of that story was that the perception is one, but the reality is another.
Absolutely.
But because people love to just feed that negative misinformation, they're out there doing it. I would, that's another side note, but I wish that they create a law that holds people accountable for misinformation. And
right.
Just clean.
Well,
but anyway,
CNN and Fox and companies like that have created their own perception that is distant from reality half the time.
So here's the thing that is important to know is perception, because perception can influence how we focus on, process, or even act on reality, right? So it changes a lot of things. That's a dangerous tool, right? One example is, for example, men love to do this, right? You're walking down the street, you're at a cafe, or you're at a bar, and a girl smiles at you and waves, right?
Ladies, you know this.
Girl smiles and waves at you because you're looking, right? And you're just, hey, women are nice sometimes. They're like, hey, hi.
Yeah.
They're not jerks. And so the guy right away is like, she wants this. She knows what she wants, right? But again, perception, reality, right? The perception is she wants me. The reality is
she wants to get married and have 15
children.
She wants to hook
up. She want to hook up.
She want to hook up
because she see Big Daddy coming right here, But the reality of things is, I'm a nice girl. I'm just waving,
right?
Why am I waving?
Going, did I just make a mistake?
No. What she's really thinking is like, why is this weirdo staring at me?
Why does he keep
just stop looking at me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now, Could that get dangerous? Yeah, because now the guy comes over and he could be like, "Hey, what's up, girl?" Blah blah blah. And it's like, "Oh, hey, hi, just here waiting for my friends," and he could get mad, like, "Well, oh, why are you giving me all these signals, and all of a sudden you're shoving me away?" That could be dangerous,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That could be dangerous. So
signals can be misinterpreted
we
very
have
easily.
we have to once in a while look in the mirror and say, yeah, that chick ain't waving at me because she want me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing is, perception, it could be very dangerous, and perception has created a lot of problems for the United States.
Yeah.
A lot, because we let our emotions, we let our feelings, our cognitive thinking steps in. There's all kinds of stuff that starts coming into play, and the reality things gets blurred. Our perception gets fed into that, and that whole thing changes. Our view on that changes. It's no longer a little pony with nice little bows on its tail. All of a sudden, it's a unicorn with flames coming out of his nostrils. It's just dangerous.
That's my steed of choice right there.
How you doing? It's a very dangerous thing, and I think people need to understand, especially in the type of government that we have right now. Not everything you hear should be based on what you're hearing, right? You need to kind of go out there and look at the reality of things. Look at facts. Don't look at, because I could tell you so many things. I could tell you, they're like, oh man, yeah, man, I was out there the other day and this chick all day talking to me and blah, blah. But that's my reality. That's my perception of that conversation, right? And you're just going to go like, okay, I mean, why would Joe tell me anything different? If that's what happened, that's what happened. But I'm telling you my side of the story. I'm telling you my reality, my perception.
And then I meet up with her and she's like, man, he was really weird and creepy. He had funky breath. You know?
I know. But
tic tacs, everybody.
But you know what I'm saying? It changes things, and it's very dangerous, and people need to get away from that thought that perception is reality, because it's totally not. Right. Reality is reality and perception is perception, and they do not and cannot coexist. I could perceive things differently, right? Like I could perceive that, I don't know, that someone likes me just as a person, like, oh, they talk to me. I think they like me. That's it. I don't know what the reality of it is, but it doesn't really impact my life. It doesn't change anything, right? It just, like, I made a friend. That's the extent of it, because that's my perception to that conversation was, oh, they like talking to me, they like hanging out, and maybe we'll do coffee again. In that case, my perception, it could be right, it could be wrong, but it doesn't matter, because it's not going to impact my life. It's when you start making those perceptions that are impactful, that could change your view of things, that now you're walking that fine line where it's like, dude, what are you talking about? That's not at all what I saw. In the society that we live in, that's a very dangerous line. I think that's where you get those blurred lines of, oh, I think you're a little on the cray side. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best thing that you did was use the relationship example, the analogy, because everybody's, and especially for women, they've had that, right? Where a guy sees them, maybe they just make eye contact and slightly smile. It doesn't even have to be a wave or anything like that. And all of a sudden the guy's like, oh, I'm in. She wants me.
Bro, that
she
happens so much.
My gosh, especially in clubs and stuff like that. These are times I'm super glad I'm not a female. Man, I'd want to punch dudes if they kept doing that. The analogy of the basic dating life and stuff like that is probably the easiest one for everybody to understand. Then you go a step further and you go into things that are, social based, right? Mm-hmm. And then into politics and all these kind of things. And obviously we all know of how different everybody views everything in politics and the social media realm and legacy media. If somebody is a staunch Fox watcher, right, they're going to have a very specific opinion and belief system and perception to what they believe. Same thing with if somebody's a CNN or MSNBC or CBS or ABC, they're going to have their thoughts of reality and their perception that they have, which are going to be completely different. Only one truth is out there, right? Kind of like, remember the X-Files?
Yeah, Scully
and Mulder.
Yeah, Mulder.
The truth's out there somewhere. The thing is finding that, because there's so much static in the information that pulling out the actual reality is very difficult. We see this all the time, and that's why you kind of brought up some of these, little scenarios with Mount McKinley and change from Denali and all that kind of stuff. People are making the perception is that you have Trump, the dictator, coming in and doing it, but Obama changed it from McKinley to Denali, right? So he wasn't a dictator for doing that. He just made a change, and Do I think it was right or wrong? Honestly,
On what?
Me, bro, the Mount McKinley going to Denali, I don't really care.
Well, this is the thing. Why change something? Leave it alone. If someone named it, leave it alone. Just leave it as it is.
Right.
But then that argument would be, well, why the Gulf of Mexico? Well, you know what? I think it makes more sense. It makes more sense. He changed it, so what? But he's not. It's not like it's not like it's the Gulf of Kennedy. Now, if it was like President Kennedy or something like that, or someone that's memorable, then maybe leave it alone. What's a big deal? You know what I mean? Because that Mount, what was that? McKinley. That was our 25th president. So he's the one that led us winning that Spanish
the war.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the importance of that is like that represents something. If we're talking about what representation, that was probably the highest peak. It's very
grandiose.
Grandioso out there, and it's like, that he deserves that title, right? Gulf of America, that encompasses everybody, not just the USA, not just Mexico, but everybody. Right. You know what I mean? So I don't see a big deal. Like I said, if it was called the Gulf of John F. Kennedy, it'd be probably a little different, but it's still the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's not Mexico's, it's ours. So it's in America. So, like you said, it could easily change it to the Gulf of the US of A, but he didn't. He just called it Gulf of America.
Now, see, if he would have changed it from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of US, I could honestly see people being a little bit upset. Hey, man, you're dissing Mexico and putting it in the US. But America is all of us. So if you're really in the belief of...
That was really struck a chord. America's everyone.
All of us.
That's America.
Marca.
I want to go back to that example because I was just thinking about perception again, and I keep thinking about it. So remember that little story in the beginning I talked about the black devilfish?
Yeah.
So they have this
with the underbite teeth.
Anyway, it's coming up, right? You see this thing, and I kid you not, I'm looking at it, I'm like, that is a ugliest monstrosity of a fish ever,
and it has a mom, and its mom thinks it's the cutest.
Okay, whatever. But anyway, that was my view. Was that is the biggest monstrosity, most horrible thing I've ever seen, with the biggest underbite, right? And
this is your perception.
This is my perception, right?
What's the reality?
The reality, bro. The fish is this big. It's this big, guys. It fits in your palm of your hands. I'm like, okay, why'd you do that to me, man? I'm like,
that's the devilfish.
Dude, I felt bad. I'm like, I just totally insulted that little cute little fish. Now it's cute because it's this big, cute,
right? Because it has a little cute underbite now.
It's all just a cute little underbite with the little teeth is coming at you. And then they showed a picture. Then I was looking. I'm like, okay, is all this made up? Is there even a devilfish, right? And it's anglerfish. Is what they are.
Yeah, that's the species.
They zoomed out. They took a picture, and there's this cameraman with a big camera, and a little fish right there. And I'm like, you guys lied to me. I feel bad now. So again, perception versus reality are two different things, right? So when you imagine something, you have this picture, and it fills up your whole screen. You're like, that's a big, ugly fish.
Yeah.
But then when it's this big and it's like in the palm, you're like, oh, you're so cute. Look at the baby. Right. But you guys, if you take a dive into the definitions of the two words, both perception and reality, you're going to find that reality excludes perception.
That's
nowhere
correct.
in there.
That's correct.
So stop saying that perception is reality, because it's not. That is such a pet peeve of mine. It's like, no, it's not. They're two different things. It's not reality. It could be your reality. Now, I could see that happening. That your perception is your reality, because that's what it is, but it's not reality. It's not the realness of something. It could be real to you, right? Just like, when you put on a dress and you still have a beard, you might think you look beautiful.
I do look beautiful.
Put the lotion in the basket.
Put the lotion in the basket.
But you know what I'm saying? We have to get away from that. We have to stop using our emotions, our feelings to
skew our reality.
Because
absolutely,
that's dangerous. You know what I mean? You cannot. How could you make life changing decisions based on your perception? It scares me, guys. I don't know. I think we got to be smarter than that. I think we were created as very intellectual people. The fact that we take that and dumb ourselves down a bit is on us. But I would hope that people would use more common sense, which is, something that we lack in this nation, is to use more common sense to remove our feelings on certain things and see things for what they are. That's just a door. Right. It's not the exit to the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It's just a door that leads outside this room, from the studio. And that's it. This is just a mic. This is not a banana like Jay thinks it is. You know what I mean? It's not. The reality of things is that our perceptions are that, and that could be very dangerous again, because, we could think that, for example, as a husband, I could have thought with my ex, I could have thought I was a great husband. I was doing everything I should have been doing, right? Working, and doing everything. But in reality of things is that in my working all the time, I neglected that connectivity with my partner that should have been there. But because I thought I was doing the right thing by working all the time to provide for my family, get a house and blah, blah, blah. Again, you have to slow down. You have to look at things differently. You got to like, we could perceive that we have a great relationship. We're not thinking about that one time where we did something to one another, whatever the case is. And we have that little
animosity,
yeah. But because we've never,
you do remember that,
you said it was okay to touch you. I did. And the rest is history. But again, our perception,
that is my reality.
But again, I can't even do this anymore.
I can't even do this anymore. Well, I'll tell you, I'll leave you all with this. So this all started many, many, many moons ago. And it was when the first two people on the planet were walking around in the garden. And the reality was that God told them they could do anything and have anything and whatever they wanted, except for one thing. Their perception was that God would be okay with taking the fruit. I'll leave you with that.
Man, there's always them. It was always Adam and Eve. Man,
I know.
Adam and Eve. I know you guys are like our great grandparents or something, but y'all messed up, man.
You goofed.
My life could have been so much easier.
I know. Here we are.
Here we are.
You're
now I got to wear clothes and underwear and socks. I can't be walking around naked.
Oh, man, your skewed reality made our.
I'm not going to blame you guys. I know who it was. It was that little serpent, that little slimy little guy.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, listen, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We have tons of episodes in the bank, so make sure you check all those out. Hit that like and subscribe button if you would, please. It does a lot for us, a lot more than you realize, and we appreciate you coming by. Make sure, everybody, you take care of one another.
And remember, do better, be better, and as always,
God bless America.
We'll see you next week, guys.
See you on Tuesday.